This is the second part of Apache Kafka documentation. This is section 4 from the documentation about the design of Apache Kafka. This is part 2 of section 4. In section 1, we saw in general in the design how they prefer to use files. Don't fear the file system, they call it. When they use the file system, they said that when you use the file system sequentially, then you reach a scale of x 6000. Then when you use the file system in random access. Okay? So this, and they reached with sequential file write, you reach like 600 megabytes per second, while with random access you reach something like 100 kilobytes per second. Right. So this is why they rely on the file system. Basically the claim is that file system in our case is much better to rely on. And because they rely on the file system, then they prefer sequential data structures such as queues versus bit trees. Although with bit trees you reach an O of log of n, but still when this log of n means you need random access, right, from the file system, so they don't want this. And they prefer queues. Also, they said how they use the page cache, which basically means that versus the Java JVM. So they said that the overhead of having objects inside the memory is like x2, but they want to utilize. If you have a 32 gigabyte memory RAM, you want to utilize it as much as possible, so they utilized it with by just calling writes and reads and letting the OS, probably with some configuration, letting the OS manage the page cache. So the OS is going to manage it for us. Just plain cache of the operation system. Also, they mentioned about writing to a leader. The writes are going to a leader, and so if we have here a leader and a couple of followers, nodes, then the writes are going to the leader and the reads are from the followers, and then they reached the whole topic of the consistency and how we guarantee whether we have at least once, exact once, and then they reached like exact once with idempotency, and also with something like transaction. And we are still in this section, part 2 of the design. And here, let's see. Let's continue with this. So, replicated logs, quorums, ISR, and state machine. At its heart, a Kafka partition is a replicated log. The replicated log is one of the most basic primitives in distributed data systems. And there are many approaches for implementing one. A replicated log can be used by other systems as primitive for implementing other distributed systems in the state machine style.